An 8, check, check. All right, tell me if you can hear sound. Sound should be coming through now. Um, yeah, that was the link that it. That's what I. Oh, yep. Okay, now I hear the sound coming through on my phone. That was the link that I sent you, Nick. So I'm trying to get the Goslings on here. This is all kind of last. It's very last minute. I literally saw something today, and we've been, kind of texting back, back and forth. Here, I just sent you the link again. And a looped audio. Hopefully it's not. Is the audio still looped? Tell me if you can hear me now. I see 513 Cats. I can't remember. Is 513 Cats, is that my is it Anthony or Antonio, saxophone player from Ohio? It's the problem with these. You got to start putting pictures so I can correlate a picture to a face. Okay, so no looped audio. Yeah, it might have been the audio coming through my phone being picked up on my microphone. So, yeah, I think I'm not sure how you jump in through the thingamajiggy and oh yeah, man. Dude, when are you going to hit me up for saxophone lessons? Not that dude, I've been so busy. It's actually been a blessing that you haven't hit me up for some lessons, but we do need to connect. Okay, so yeah, when I say I have been in bed I have been in bed and on the couch just about all day, working from an iPad and a cell phone. Okay, so I'm trying to get my Restream login info so that I can use this app and see everybody's chats hopefully in one place, and this will work. And then hopefully we'll get the Goslings on, and then we're going to take over the world. Oh my gosh, I hate these little captcha things where it's okay. Somebody write me a I'm gonna write this and see if it goes through everywhere. Beautiful. Okay, so I just wrote. Somebody wants to send me a message. It says there's 4 people watching. Hopefully it's going across all 3 platforms, and then hopefully we can get the Goslings on here and talk about the stuff I wanted to talk about with them. I appreciate everybody's patience. Let me know what you guys want to talk about in the. Oh, he said check the Facebook messages. That's the. Oh, okay. So maybe that's the wrong link. My bad, guys. Hold up. I think I sent them the wrong thing. No, this is the. Oh, here we go. Instructions for the guests. I thought that was the links for the guests. Was that not? Well, shoot. It says the Goslings. It says you guys are already paired, so maybe you can jump in through your YouTube channel. I don't know why it says the Goslings Twitter is paired to the channel, so I don't know if you have to do it through Twitter. That's the only link that they're giving me. I guess worst case, that was the pairing link. Okay, so you guys have done this like every week. Where do I add you guys? Can't join without a guest link. Okay, now I got to find the guest link. Where is the guest link? Where is the guest link? I apologize, everybody. I should have done this a while ago, but we weren't sure we were going to make this happen. But once we get cooking, it's going to be awesome. Where is that guest link? Okay, he's going to screenshot it for me. I apologize. Typically I'm on it for this type of stuff. I don't know why it's evading me today. Because all I'm seeing is the embed link. Schedule a new event. He's sending it to me right now. Restream. Where is the guest link located? Navigate to Restream Studio and click on the invite. Oh, I wonder if I have to do that through. I think if I did it that way, I would have to be doing it through Restream, and I'm not doing it through Restream. I'm doing it through OBS, so it looks all pretty and has all my stuff. Well, shoot. Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, Nick, I'm doing it through OBS, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do this. You know what? This might work. This actually likely will work. Oh no. I'd literally just tried to call you guys through Facebook Messenger, but it won't. I think it's because I'm already using this camera. So it won't let me do it. We're going to try it one more time. Yeah. It won't let me do it because I'm already using this camera. There's got to be a workaround. Because I really want you guys on screen. Actually, hold up. I might have a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. Looks like this is going to be like testing part 2. Hold up. I've got a way. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Y'all gonna hear this quick little tutorial on how to do this thing. Because I forgot how to use this app that I have on my phone. What in the world? Yeah, I've got the app already. So I have this thing where I can mirror from my phone. I can show what's on my phone on my screen. And I already have the app, but I haven't used it in like 4 months because I was using it. There's so many different ways to live stream, so I was trying to do stuff where I could mirror, show my phone. What I was using it for was for TikTok and for Instagram. I would put my phone because the camera on the back of the phone is way better, so I was putting my camera facing me, but then you can't see what you look like. So I was actually having it cast on my computer screen so I could see what I was looking at. Okay, so I have that there. Now what? Yes, I have it there. Now, how do I send my phone to it? Because I'm just going to call you guys. So, Nick and Jonathan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to FaceTime you guys. I'm just looking to see where the... Oh, okay. I found it. I found it, I think... Bingo. Okay. I got it. Now let me get this up here. Yeah, what's up, Corey? I'm sorry, I didn't see your message until just now, Corey. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get your sound in here, guys, but this'll work just so we're at least functional today. So they'll kind of hear you through. I might even be able to find a workaround for that, but we'll figure that out. So, yeah, here I'm going to be FaceTiming you, and I will... This would probably be easier on a Mac. I'm actually considering getting a Mac because Mac does some of these things much easier. Oh, I can hear Nick. Nick, are you there? I hear your phone making a bunch of noise, Nick. I wonder if he knows he's on live. Nick, can you hear me, brother? Nick, you're live, brother. Nick.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
There you are. Did you have it plugged into your head?
Can you see me? Can you see me?
I cannot see you yet. You're not visible.
Crazy. I can't see anything.
Is Jonathan there with you? I just lost you, or I can hear you typing, but I can't. I cannot see you, but I can hear you typing. Can you hear me talking?
No, he's not.
Okay. He was on there, but then it and no video of you. That's weird.
Yep.
I think that's on. Man, you've got to get okay, brother. For Christmas, ask your wife for a newer iPhone, because don't you have like an iPhone like 2, an iPhone Stone Age? But it's like it's legit. It's like an iPhone 8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get you up to like 13, brother. You gotta just jump. Go ahead and jump up to a 14, man. It's 7 times 2. It's a godly number. Let me try calling you back, and hopefully the video will catch on. So let's give that a shot. It's still. Want to try it one more time. Oh, no, that's not what we want. Well, now I got you on audio, but we want video. Come on. Boy, this is an epic fail, y'all. I'm trying it again. I don't know why the video won't work, brother. Because I can. Oh, there's Jonathan.
What's up, G?
And we got him on the screen too. So what version of the iPhone do you have, Jonathan?
The 13.
See, tell your brother go take the Stream Deck back and go get him a newer iPhone.
Hey, listen, Nick and I were running flip phones up until about 6 months ago. So,
You know what's amazing? I have no idea. So I didn't realize that this screen mirroring, it's sending the audio to my computer as well. So you're actually being sent over the live stream as well, which is pretty bananas.
huh?
So now I'm gonna.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Oh, great. Good. We got real-time audio. That's good. I don't have any video because I do have an iPhone BC.
We'll have to like stick a picture of you up. I'm gonna have to like throw a picture of you like over the screen.
Yeah, not necessary. I look like death. It's been a long day. This is great. This is podcast material right here. This is good.
It works. It works. We're all here. Jonathan looks good, and I'm gonna switch over real quick to the just to double check to make sure it's it looks like it's going. So I've got the chat. You guys are on this screen. I'm like Bruce Wayne over here with all the screens, and it only took me like 15 minutes, but hey. Dude, 15 minutes in Techland for a last-minute live stream trying to pull this together. That's we're just gonna say praise the Lord. So now I don't have my fancy mug, but I do have this. It's a magic mug.
I like that.
Yeah, you put. So I don't advertise this. This is for sale on my store, but I don't advertise it because it's tiny.
Really?
It's like if you do like the largest Keurig setting, it literally goes up right to the brim. So you can't put like any creamer, but it's really cool because when it's like you can see it's cooling down and it's getting darker, and when it's empty, it's black. So
how much are they?
I think they're $20 on my store.
That is worth every bit of $20.
You know,
I mean, Doesn't look small. Do you just have like little Trump hands like me?
No, I don't have baby hands. But I say I'm putting it close to the camera so you can see it. That's why it's looking bigger than it really is. Because when you bring it back here, you can see the size of it.
You know what? It's a good size, Gabe.
It's a normal size mug. I'm just used to gargantuan mugs. Like all my all my mugs are oversized.
Well, I mean, look, I got like the
Sasquatch with the AK.
It's Black Rifle Coffee Company, but like I don't support their politics, so they turned their back on the hero of Kenosha. So I'd like to just go through and scratch off stuff back here with their logo on it. But I love, since I write, the Sasquatch apocalypse book, like I love this stuff, So
I don't know anything about their politics. My wife got me their coffee because they support law enforcement, but that's even a dicey issue these days. And my older brother is in law enforcement, and it's tough for me, man. It's difficult for me because of a lot of folks just kind of go along to get along, and they're like, well, it's not my problem, I'm not calling the shots. And at some point somebody's gonna have to be like, enough is enough. The buck's gonna stop somewhere. But that's why I put this, I'm going to make a proper thumbnail, because I was like, I have 10 minutes, I can't make a proper thumbnail and like get all this tech going. So there are some things that we might get into, but the reason I call this thing United We Stand is it's the conversations that we've been having, that I had with you, Jonathan, that I had with Nick separately, and I basically want to have that conversation live. Is when the believers come together and stand together, and this is a conversation I was having with my brother Corey Gaston last night. We're there. He's serving at a Methodist church. He grew up Black Baptist. I grew up Church of God, Indiana, Church of God, Cleveland. My grandparents were Catholic, and I served in a Reformed Presbyterian church. Mm-hmm. Jonathan, I know you're not. What's up, Luke? How you doing, my man? Jonathan, I know you're trying to find a congregation. Nick, are you guys? Do you and Rihanna go to like a non-denominational church? Or you guys go to like any kind of formal denomination church?
We go to a Baptist church. It's the same church my dad went to, just kind of the more local satellite of it.
Gotcha.
We've only been going since about probably around Easter we started going. But we were raised more charismatic, non-denominational, borderline Pentecostal. I mean, talking, Assemblies of God, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah. But you found a good church that has good solid doctrine, good theology, good community. It's like, hey man, they got meat and potatoes, and it's not potato chips and kangaroo.
Well, I would say that it's pretty generic, solid foundation, just generic doctrine.
Yeah.
And when I say I don't mean generic in a derogatory sense. I mean, all of the basics are there around the essential doctrines.
Yeah.
But it's and they keep it there. They keep it at that level. It's pretty milk and cookies.
Milk and cookies.
Yeah, milk and cookies.
Thank you, Jonathan, for getting my reference. Thank you, Jonathan, for getting.
They won't go deep on the meat.
He said, say what? He says, hey, he says so funny. I want to hear him say it again. I said, I'm making cookies.
Gotta go downstairs. Him say him.
Him downstairs. It's funny. There's a bass player friend of mine, another believer, and I did that. I don't know how we even got on that subject of quoting that movie. And dude, every time he sees me now, he's like, he's like, hey, do it again. He's like, poke. He's like, it's like I'm the toy. I'm the Teddy Ruxpin. You got to pull the thing back, and I said, I'm milk and cookies.
You're a monkey. Dance, monkey.
Yes.
Dance.
That's what performers do. But, in an effort to unite, and like we were talking before, guys, like I've seen the things that are building these modern, I'll just call them, I don't even want to call them alternative media, but these other media companies that are springing up, Daily Wire, The Blaze, whatever you want to call them. You know, it's not built on one personality. It's not built on one person. Facebook, which Facebook, Corey? Is it me with the saxophone, with the gold saxophone, or is it me with the black saxophone?
Oh, black sack gay.
Yeah, because why's it got to be black? Well, because I'm wearing all black in that picture. I'm wearing black shirt, black pants, holding a black saxophone with black hair, and I'm a partly black man.
Louis Farrakhan would be very proud.
Oh. Don't you hate it when he says something, you're like, that's right. I agree with that.
Yep. Yeah. It's it becomes problematic, as they say.
Well, the funny thing is like the only things that I see him say are the things I agree with, and I'm like, do I really disagree with him? I know there's things in print, and then you got to, you go like, oh, yeah, that's a little,
little out there,
a little bit, but I mean, any more out there than our politicians and elected officials, Black back. Okay, so you're on from the music page, Corey.
Well, at least one is honest about it,
I tell you, that was one of the interesting things. Totally not. Let's just go on the right. We're here for all the rabbit trails.
That's right.
We might have to do like a monthly cast and just call it Rabbit Trails, where we just take all the random things that don't have enough time to take up an entire podcast. He showed up in, I think it was Leah Remini's thing on Scientology, because he was getting money from the Church of Scientology. Like they were linking up. Like it was just business for him. He was propagating some of their propaganda for money.
Really?
Yes. It came up. It was either in that or one of the movies, but I'm pretty sure it was in like one of the last episodes of her thing.
That's bizarre. Scientology is so bizarre as it is.
How bizarre? Yeah. How bizarre? Bling ding ding, bling ding ding.
It's trying to figure out like where. I don't think they really have any politics. I think it's just a massive networking pseudo pyramid scheme,
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, Tom Cruise is doing a heck of a job being a spokesperson for it, tying himself to the side of that plane and then doing that. Like, you can't help but look at that and be like, man, that's what I wish we had in our entertainment. Like him, on the edge of that plane, jumping off. First of all, he's probably done it a bazillion times, so he just looks like he's stepping out of his car to go to work. And he's like, yeah, so I just want to thank all of you guys for coming out and seeing Top Gun Maverick, and we're here shooting for Mission Impossible 27, the impossible mission, and it's going to be the most amazing thing, and thank you so much, and we'll see you at the movies. And I'm just like, thank you. Maybe, yes, I will look at some material for your church. I mean, no, but you can keep the e-meters, but
every religion has a way of like, hooking you, and Scientology's way is Tom Cruise.
He's a pretty good hook.
He's awesome he's an incredible actor and movie star. You can't take that away from him, no matter how crazy or off-put he might be. Dude, Maverick is the best movie of the past, maybe decade. Top Gun Maverick is an amazing movie.
I regret to say I have not seen it yet, but I will be watching it soon. My wife told me it hits Paramount streaming tomorrow, which we already have because we watch Blue Bloods, so I'll be able to watch it tomorrow for free.
Yeah, Blue Bloods, that's a good choice. It's got Donnie Wahlberg and Tom Selleck.
Dude, Tom Selleck. I watched that show for one reason and one reason only. Tom Selleck's mustache. It deserves its own, Donnie Wahlberg and what's her name from iRobot and the Cuban guy that's the son and what's her face and Tom Selleck.
Yep.
And Tom Selleck's mustache.
Yep. It has its own SAG card.
It has its own star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
It's really, yeah. Well, I mean, he can't fit into the Magnum PI shorts anymore, so he's old.
But the mustache can.
But the mustache can. The mustache is eternal, and the mustache will live forever.
Who wants to live forever? But yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to talk about is the linking arms. So we're talking about just the differences, so we're there on stage at Elevation Church, good, bad, or indifferent, and everybody's got an opinion. That was actually one of the things that the music director said. He's like, well, man, we can't do nothing right over here. He's like, no matter what we do, somebody's going to say something. And I was like, I busted out laughing because I was like, that's a fact. You guys forget microscope. You guys are under a stinking telescope.
Mm-hmm.
They're under an electron microscope. So it's like, oh, they scratched their nose. They did it wrong. They scratched their nose wrong. They quoted that scripture wrong. They used the wrong version. But we're there with, like I said, man, just a mixed bag of musicians, string players, brass players in skinny jean rock and roll church, and we're talking about coming together, what we're there to do. And we were actually sharing with him, myself, and my buddy Corey, just like the difference. We told him, I was like, guys, like, surely you and you understand, you realize that if you guys had brass on your next record, we told him, it's like, if you guys had horns on your next record, the next week, most churches in America would be figuring out how to have brass in their music programs. And we told him, it's like, I thankfully grew up in a church that incorporated that. My buddy didn't. So he was there going to church, not being able to serve or play or feel like he was a part because what he loved to do. And he's he went to the Marines as a trumpet player. He's fantastic. So it's finding ways, that's why I'm so passionate about, not only am I passionate about what you guys are doing, what's the topics that the Lord has called you to and the ministry the Lord has called you to, I'm also super passionate about. So it's made it real easy for me to be like, man, however I can help these guys get this wagon going.
Yeah.
But we need more of that, because what we have right now in the kingdom, and we were talking about that actually, is and I'd be interested in both y'all's takes on this. So and this will actually be interesting in the chat. So for those of you that are watching, let me know what you think. So I was talking to my boy Corey, and I said, he was talking about the consolidating of churches, because he'll go to a church to go, as a hired trumpet player, even though he's a full-time music minister and a full-time educator. He just got his doctorate, so now I got to call him Dr. Corey, which I love it. I actually took him out to lunch shortly after he got it, and I was like, I pulled up my phone and I said, look, I just had to change your name to Doctor. I put DR in front of it.
That's awesome.
I was very proud of him. But he was talking about, like, he'll go to a church and he'll look around. Like, he actually showed me this picture. He went to this, I don't know, it was a Baptist church to go minister at. And he took a picture, like, he's standing at the church. It was like, he took a picture in front and behind him were 3 churches within walking distance. Kind of like Cleveland, Yeah. But that's not uncommon in the South. It's not uncommon. Yeah. It's not uncommon in some places, even in New York, man. I mean, you go to New York and they'll be, granted, they won't all be churches. It'll be a mosque, a synagogue, and a church, and 14 other things in a city block. But it's also because there's 20 billion people living in a quarter-mile radius. But I told him, I said, man, I think the small model, I said, I don't see anything wrong with that as long as there's community and we're coming together to do things. Because then all you have is mega churches. Then all you have is 10,000 people coming together, and there's a trade-off. There's issues you have with small churches. There's issues you have with big churches.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? And Nick, go first, because I know, Jonathan, you're going to be kind of the. I know you're going to be you're going to put a curve on it. So let me get the fastball, then I'll get the curve in the slider.
Seems like every church is just doing their own thing. And every church is doing their own thing within the boundaries of their own defining doctrines. And like most non-profit, this is going to sound really cold, but like most nonprofits, when you have a bunch of churches, which are 501c3s, nonprofits, say you have a bunch of them in one geographical area, well, they are all competing for donors.
Oh.
And they're mission mind. They say they're mission minded, but there's a conflict of interest there because they also want influence in the community. I think it's hard for churches to come together and recognize that and set that aside. And I think that's one reason why I personally am hoping that this new bill about, federal protections around same-sex marriage, while most Christians are bemoaning it because it's, it's moot because there were already protections. The fact of the matter is it's going to be used as a weapon to come against churches who refuse to cater to homosexual people who want to get homosexual marriages, and the churches turn them away and say no, and they become the bakers, right? And they're so all that to say, I'm anticipating and looking forward to churches losing their tax exempt statuses because they need to stop worrying about that. Churches don't report to the IRS,
Right.
Yep.
You can do whatever they want with their money. They don't report to the IRS, which means they get to keep all that they get, and that's good, and they can apply it all to kingdom work. But that is such a lucrative proposition for the people who administer the budgets that they say they're mission-minded, but they're always focused on the next building, the next set of staff, the next set of stage lights and instruments and programs and all of those things. And I think when they stop focusing on the administrative stuff
indeed,
rake in and harvest the budget required, and I know I sound kind of bitter, but this has been a bone of contention with me for years. Well, when they stop focusing on, the budget to run all those programs, then they can come together. I think they can come together in the community and not worry about trying to pass the proverbial plate around to try to raise support and compete for all those donors. I think that if they're mission minded, churches should volunteer just as much as the people they ask to volunteer for them. They should just go out expecting nothing in return and come together and do something. And the fact of the matter is, they're going to be forced to, right, soon. I mean, we're coming up on like Revelation chapter, pick one. We're there. And, they're going to be forced at some point to really get serious about the gospel and spiritual warfare and their denominational ties and their budgets and their administrative burdens, quote unquote, are getting in the way of that right now, quite honestly, because that's why, right? That's what we talk about, how people they have questions about the supernatural things that are going on in the world and in their lives, and they can't go to their pastors and ask questions and talk about it. And it's because of things. The churches don't want to be seen as pariahs in the community. They don't want to be known as that church that deals with those issues or helps
to be loved by the world.
It's all psychological. It's all, go see a shrink, go get help. They tried to get help. They came to the church, is where they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
And they just they're too busy looking corporate and trying to look pretty and look good and have influence in the community. And quite honestly, I don't think it's working.
Obviously, it's not. Look at the state of our nation. But go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, well, it's not. Well, first of all, Nick, just for anybody who might be watching, without going into too many details, explain to people why you actually are speaking from a position of educated authority on the subject.
Why am I speaking from a position of educated authority on?
Because you do stuff with nonprofits, right?
Oh yeah, from the nonprofit piece. Yeah, I work at an accounting firm that serves nonprofits exclusively, compliance and accounting and all of that.
Yeah.
So, and I've been doing that for about 7 years. I've been with this company, and I've learned quite a bit about the world of nonprofits and what's expected of them and some of the advantages that churches have that make them kind of unique as 501c3s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Nick's kind of an authority on, you know, well, Nick has a lot of interactions that are of that nature with, you know, trying to get 501c3 status or whatever kind of status, either start a church or Nick's got a pretty lengthy list of stories. It seems like every day he probably garners a new notch on the belt of weird conversations with people. So yeah, I think same thing basically. I was thinking about it while Nick was talking, and it kind of boils down to money, but from two different angles. So if you have a small church, which the last time I was committed to a church, it was a small church. It was Grace Point, understand, the one that self-detonated circa 2015.
I don't remember which one. So I'm vaguely rings a bell, but I don't remember what happened there.
Yeah, Mitchell Grace and redeemed, I guess, assistant pastor of Christ Church from the 90s. And so he disappeared for a little while, then he came back and started his own church, and it was like and he called it Grace Point. It was in Brentwood. And it was kind of a refugee camp for disenfranchised churchgoers. It was awesome. There were Catholics, there were Protestants, there were, all types of denominations within Protestantism. It was really, really cool because Stan Mitchell has a real gift, and he was very charismatic and very intellectual. And then I was even in his ordination class for a little while at his request, met with him probably at least once a week, really got to know him. And then it became, so like, that's a small church that, my involvement aside, once I kind of like took a break, they self-detonated because they wanted to, or Stan, with a cabal of people, wanted to become the first fully inclusive church. They changed their charter without the congregation's notification.
Oh wow!
Or approval, and he made that announcement around the same time that he kind of self-detonated his personal life a little bit, or a big bit, and so so it was a nightmare. Anyways, small church. Why do I bring that? He did what a lot of small churches do, which is angle for that 60 minutes of fame that's going to put you on the map, angle for a younger demographic that's going to be more of a financial investment. And so a lot of small churches do that where they're ambitious, they're hungry, and they want to get involved, with stuff they probably shouldn't, in order to ingratiate themselves to power brokers that are going to secure their financial stability. Mm-hmm. Right? So, which in a way makes sense. Like, and there's nothing really wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with pursuing financial stability in your church, because you still have to pay for the lights. You still have to pay for the toilets to flush. So I get it, sure. But that's a real temptation. Small churches will, angle for anything they can. Now, the good side of that is that sometimes you find small churches who, like, they're all the things you're not supposed to talk about. They're going to have unpopular opinions, and that's the cool thing about it, But a lot of times you're going to have small churches that are trying to be bigger churches, and not because not because they are becoming bigger churches, but because they are wanting to become a bigger church.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Well, yeah, they
too.
think, if we're bigger, if we're 1,000 people, we can reach this many people, we can do this. But the reality is, and this is old numbers, if 10% of the church is tithing and 20% of the church is serving, why not just have a church of 200 people where it's 90% are giving and 100% are serving, and you don't have the overhead of 800 people that are coming and doing nothing but taking up space?
Because then there's no ego challenge for the pastor to be able to convince 800 other people that they, and I saw it at Grace Point, I saw it at Thompson Station Church. Every time, every sermon, we need more money. We need you to give more. Why? Because they want to add a new annex. Okay, and it's not like, hey, we have too many people in our building. The fire marshal's going to shut us down. We have to, build this other building. It's just, no, we want to. We're in a nice upper middle class neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now the nice thing, like a big church like Brentwood Baptist, which is like one of the most stable churches in the area. That church has never had a split. It's probably actually the only big church in Middle Tennessee that I know of that's never had a split. They've done a really good job of maintaining. But, with a lot of big churches, the problem you have is you're going to get very homogenized and pasteurized doctrine. You're going to get safe doctrine,
Safe. Yep.
And safe doctrine does not translate as beneficial or nutritious doctrine. So, so you might not be getting what you need at a bigger church.
Well, and it's harder to feel communal. It's a lot easier to just show up. Nobody knows you're there. Nobody cares. You come and go as you please. If you show up 3 times a year, nobody's, there's no accountability.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I proposed to Corey. I was like, to my buddy when we were talking about it, I was like, man, we need the small fellowships for discipleship, for community. I was like, and then we come together for the outreach. I mean, isn't it bonkers, man, that we all try to for instance, like this year, I did a lovely traditional program at the church that I'm serving at. Okay, with maybe, I don't know if we had 20 in the choir. I was the only musician, so I bounced back and forth between a keyboard and using my iPad to do drums and guitar and stuff and a piano, and it was beautiful, right? And then I'm playing at this thing that Lord knows how much money they spent. I mean, they brought in 5-piece brass section that I arranged all the stuff for. They brought in a string section. My friend Michelle from Lee did all the strings for. They bring in dancers. They brought in a drum line. I mean, it's bonkers, dude. And I'm like,
wow,
man, what if we got some churches together? And I'm not against a traditional program, but I'm like, I know the people in my choir were like, man, we really want to have like 30, 50 people up here, but we don't have that many people in the church singing yet. Like the church has been through, I think they went through a split like 4 or 5 years ago. Like recently. So just before the pastor that's serving there that I'm serving under got there. So they're kind of in recovery. But it's like, man, and it was funny because I didn't even think about like suggesting, because I'm still new, but like one of my choir members is actually helping another church's choir program for their music thing that they're like, she's going to help them because they don't have a lot of people. And I'm like, why don't we just come together and do it together?
Right.
Wouldn't that just make more sense to like have 2 or 3? Okay, you got a church of 75, we got a church of like 150, and I mean more on the rolls, but they're actually showing up. It's like somewhere between 100 and 125 that are showing up on a regular basis consistently. So what if we got like 2 or 3 of these congregations together, and then you got something cooking? You know what I mean? The reason that doesn't happen a lot of times, exactly for what you're talking about, Nick, they're concerned about the donors. They're concerned about this.
That's right.
They're like,
that's right.
well,
who's going to get the credit too? They come together and they do some big thing in the community. Which church did it? Who gets the credit? When someone in the future, one of those people that they blessed through that event, when they want more aid, they want more help, or they want to go and be a part of that church, which one do they go to? Well, those churches are going to want to make sure they're putting their, planting their flag and say, oh, well, definitely. I mean, we held that event. That was our event. We just invited this other church to join us. You need to come to our church.
Well, that was 16 points that I just thought of, and then I typed a response to my buddy Corey. He's another disenfranchised, a believer, awesome dude that I met when I was serving in a church in Charlottesville, Virginia. But yeah, to the credit and the money and the thing. It's well, there was something we were talking about yesterday, and we were discussing that. Oh, this is why. So ever since, okay, Corey, I got you, Corey. Ever since I came back from Israel, I'm trying to eject this from my vernacular in calling individual churches. There's only one church, and we know this, but we still use this terminology that's completely incorrect. We have congregations, and we have one church. This is something the Catholics do very well. They actually, I would say they do just about perfectly. They have an A, and I know there's things that they have a complete F's on, but that's all of us. That's all of us. Yeah. If we're all willing to be honest with ourselves, every denomination, every splinter faction of Christendom. If they'd honestly grade themselves objectively, like, yeah, we got an F here, charismatics, whew, yeah, they got an F in a lot of things, Reformed, they got an F in some things, but the Catholics, man, like you don't start a church in the Catholic Church outside of them. If they don't commission you, you're not starting a parish. You're not opening a parish. We didn't co-sign that. We're not even a part of the church, Now the whole thing of excommunication,
Well, no, you're well, that's different. You're getting into doctrine. You're talking about the church as like an overarching. The Catholic Church is an overarching infrastructure where one church doesn't look different from another because they have a mass, they have a liturgy, the form and structure.
No, but even then, like,
here's the thing, though. But because of all that, and this is what makes the Catholic Church, even though I think they're a cult, I'm just going to come out and say it. I think they're a cult. Even what makes them different from all these independent churches, all these denominational churches, is that all these independent, denominational churches are their own, in a way, universal church. And what I mean by that is the Catholic Church. You go to one, guess what? They don't have a stage and lots of musicians and lights and a big sound system and fog machines and all that BS. They don't have that. Mm-hmm. It's not part of their liturgy. It's the same liturgy, the same mass. Every Catholic church is reading the same scriptures on the same day, every day of the year, period. That's all laid out for them. But smaller churches don't have that. They have to do their own infrastructure. They have to come up with their own quote-unquote liturgy. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to be talking about, what they're going to be preaching on, what the songs are going to be. Then they have to practice for those songs. And they have to do it every single week. They have to come up with something new. Mm. And that's where the money goes to facilitate that. And it's busy. It's busy church. That's what we do. We do busy church every week.
Nick's preaching now, y'all. I'm clipping that part out, Nick. That's a reel right there.
Well, I appreciate it, but the Catholic Church, their doctrines, I mean, name 3 that I might agree with. And take your time. We'll be here for a while. I'm not, I'm not a huge fan. Not a huge fan.
Well, I mean, they have the Apostles' Creed. Apostles' Creed's right on. I mean, if I thought I'm not as well versed, I'm unfortunately more versed in what they get wrong, but this is what we all do, right? We all study what everybody else is doing wrong rather than study what everybody's doing right. And actually listening to, I think his name is Trent Corey. He's been on Pints with Aquinas, and recently Ruslan actually had a discussion with him. And he did not hold his feet to the fire concerning Mary. That is my 2 biggest issues with them. I don't even have an issue with them, believing. I mean, you want to believe that it's turns into the flesh of Christ and the blood of Christ. Dude, you know, I mean, come on. We come from Pentecostal backgrounds. We do some crazy stuff too. So if you want to say that, that to me is not a deal breaker. But you know, elevating Mary to an extent of equal to or above the Son, and he did some tap dancing when he was confronted with some of those questions. I was like, yeah, that wasn't a sufficient answer, man. But once again, you know, it's kind of like, even I've had conversations with Mormons that I'm like, you know, I agree with when watching Jeff Durbin Street Witness, you know, when he holds their feet to the fire on what they believe, it's like, well, yeah, is that really Jesus? Yeah, that's some bad doctrine. That's some bad theology. But you believe in Jesus, you know, like, is that confusion versus apostasy versus heresy? You know what I mean? And I think that's the delineation. And granted, I'm not a universalist. I'm not here for speaking for ecumenical. Like, hey man, let's just all get together and let's just, you know, no matter what. Well, let's have the discussions. I like the way Vadi Bakum puts it. It's like, let's get together and let's discuss. You know, and if we can walk together on the foundations of the faith and discuss these things as we go. I mean, because the funny thing is, man, especially growing up, you know, in below the majority of my life, below the Mason-Dixon line, and even in North Carolina, dude, you can go to a Baptist church, a Methodist church, Lutheran church, Presbyterian church, Church of God, First Assembly, even Elevation, and it's really just going to be different flavors of the same thing. Yeah. They're really not very different, and you know. And other than the Elevations and the Bethel-like churches, you know, the Hillsong churches, other than those people that are like, they have $1 million light shows and $1 million sound and all that stuff, everybody's kind of doing like, you know, they're just trying to figure out, well, what's working? Yeah. Which is kind of my, you know, that is, there's good and bad in that, I could argue. But, you know, we're so splintered, and I agree with you, Nick. I think that if that happens, and the more persecution that comes, and the harder it is for believers to actually stand for what the Word of God says in love, not be, you know, jerks about it. You know, we don't have to be. Now, I'm not saying we got to be wusses either. You know, I mean, I read Elijah, I read Jesus, and they're like, yeah, they were not very nice at times. I mean, Elijah wasn't very nice at all, it seems.
No, I agree.
Neither was John the Baptist.
They're great at parties. always had a funny joke. Knew some magic tricks.
Well, I immediately thought of John the Baptist's head at the party, and then I also thought of Daniel when he translated the writing on the wall, and Belshazzar literally pooped himself.
So see, they do have some cool tricks at parties,
bro. I mean, like we don't teach the Bible the way it, you know, it's. Yeah, there's a lot of, you know, everybody think, oh, Game of Thrones, that's, you know, that's testy. I'm like, have you read the Old Testament? Have you read the 5 books of Moses? Have you read Judges? I mean, read Genesis and read Judges. And if somebody would actually tell those, and I don't even like to call them stories, if they would recount that history, not only would you be informed and educated, but, you know, you'd be plenty entertained.
Yep.
Hearing about how one of the I think it's Tamar, who was one of the daughter-in-laws of Judah that tricked him by pretending to be a prostitute, and she's in the lineage of the Messiah, bro.
Isn't she the one who nailed his head with a 10 spike?
No. You're talking about the wife of Heber.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Judges. That's in the story of the prophetess Deborah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm able to recall that quickly. Number one, because, you know, everybody talks about the prophetess Deborah when they're talking about women in ministry. I'm not here to have that debate. That's a whole other. I don't really have a dog in that fight, man. That to me is just exhausting. I'm going to leave that to the Lord. I'm just like, you know what? I know what Paul said. God raises up women from time to time. I'm just, there's once again, there's just too many other things. Like, why in the world we? Here's the crazy thing, Nick. Here's the crazy thing, because to your point about you welcome the persecution, we are fighting and name calling, and like there are channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, millions of views, and they're committed to just calling out other believers. Like, imagine if you actually did some real ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and not even calling out sin. I mean, like, why do we really have to call out sin? I understand calling the church to repentance. That's why I like so much what Ruslan does, and I like what Rod Saunders does, because Rod Saunders isn't always like, he's not just calling out people like, oh, they're saying this. He's like, no, this is mixed characterization. This is what this actually says. And he's never a jerk about it. He's never like, these people are going to hell. These people are heretics. And it's like, hey, look, man, I love you, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. That's like Dr. Michael Brown. Oh yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I forgot. I just went into tech mode, and well, I guess I'll do promo at the end of it. And I don't want to keep you guys up for forever, so we've been on about an hour now. But yeah, I guess in my mind, and I was so blessed by my brother. Like, he's getting ready to, my same friend who's just got his doctorate. He's getting ready to go into the public school system. I was like, bro, that's like mission work now. I mean, that's legit mission work.
Yeah.
The stuff these people have to deal with, and one of our other friends who's in this brass section, he is in public education right now, and brother, the challenges, I'm like, I couldn't do that. I love the Lord. I love people. I don't know if I'd last a week without having to break these rules of what they can and cannot say. It's bonkers, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't calling
more do it.
Say it again, Jonathan.
I said more power to him. I couldn't do it.
I mean, it's like my brother who's in law enforcement, taking care of the delinquents of society. It's like, bro.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I had with a former cop from Illinois at the first gun shop I worked at, and we were riding into work one day, and I was like, Mark, if you could boil it down to what it's like being a cop into like one thing, if you could crystallize it, what would it be like? And he said, it basically was like punching the ocean every day. It basically was just, I think he went on to say, you are just a babysitter for adults.
Yep.
Who have never had a parent to spank them.
Or they've been abused.
Sure.
And they don't know any better, I mean, like, or they're the majority of them are fatherless. But yeah, my older brother put it that way, is basically that. He's like, this is like, a lot of times just babysitting, and people just they've never been told no. You pull them over for speeding, and they're, why are you pulling me over? Well, and it's like.
Yeah. That's a great way to get yourself a ticket, by the way, is to get indignant and self-righteous.
And it's like, man, like, I don't have anything better to do than to just pull you over for going, now, does it happen that, somebody's going a mile over per hour and they get pulled over?
Yeah.
But that's the exception, not the rule. Most of the time, It's like, we know, I mean, dude, keep it under 10, and most of the time, nobody's going to bother you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Be a decent human being. Be a decent human being. But that's, the desire, I believe, is of the Father, especially, the Son. That was his prayer in the garden, was, to make them one. That's actually something that I think it was Dr. Miles Monroe who I got that from. He said it's the only unanswered prayer of the Savior. And it really won't be answered until he comes to reign on earth. Yeah, until he comes to reign on earth. You can't say it's during the tribulation, because, we'll still, they'll be, it depends on your eschatology, but even on, no matter your eschatology, the church still won't be united. But that's the Father's heart, man, for us to be one. And he said, they'll know us by our love, and by our fruit. And love is not, unfortunately, where I think one of the main places we're getting that twisted in our current culture is we have some that think love is all stick and some that think love is no stick. You know, it's like love is being nice. No. If a father loves you, he's not nice all the time.
Yeah.
And even then, that's what makes that whole play made. It's a monologue from. It's a play. It's a black play. It was made famous by James Earl Jones, and then they made a movie, and Denzel was the character, and it's kind of the same thing. And it was another movie just recently where they kind of did the same idea. But he's like,
about they whip Denzel and he sheds the one tear and wins an Oscar.
No. That was get your hands off of me. Now it was this. He's like, he's like, boy. He's like, he's berating his son, and apparently he's, the father's, not a very good character in the play, and most people just know this little clip, but it's, he's like, the son asks him, he's like, and he's coming of age, he's like a late teenager, he's like, how come you never liked me? And he's like, do you have a bed to sleep in? Do you have food to eat? Do you have clothes on your back? Do you have this? Do you have that? And he's like, I don't have to like you. That's how I love you. And I'm screwing it up completely, but that's kind of the point. And I'm like, what does the Bible say? The Bible says the Lord disciplines those he loves.
That's right.
Yep. And he's given us everything already. Number one, we have life. And no matter what kind of shape you're in, if you don't have your sight, well, unless you're lame, deaf, and mute, you got something to be thankful for and something to be thankful for. So I'm like, man, what in the world what is all this fussing about?
I think that in that play you were talking about was Fences.
It is Fences, 100%. If you've never seen that clip with the James Earl Jones, like the Denzel speech, and Denzel, I like Denzel, Denzel Washington, or Denzel, actually. Denzel's is the way his name's supposed to be pronounced. But James Earl Jones' performance of that smokes it. It's not even in the same neighborhood. Did you guys get a chance to see that clip that I showed you, that I sent you earlier today?
I had a chance. I watched about the first 5
minute of it. Okay,
work.
yeah.
I was able to watch a little bit of it.
I can't remember if there was cursing in it or not, but that's what really got me thinking about this topic and having you guys on is, there's so much evil, blatant. I mean, like, here's a guy that's, he's basically a hedonist. For a while there, Andrew Tate saying, I'm a Christian or I'm Orthodox and I'm this, and now he's saying he's a Muslim. I don't know. He believes that there's a God. He needs Jesus. Because, life is not all about fancy cars and how many women you can sleep with. Obviously, that don't fly. And I mean, it's amazing well, I don't want to get sidetracked. I don't want to go down any of those rabbit trails because that's a long rabbit trail concerning the church and Islam. But, it's just, it blows me away that that's like Shannon was saying in the comments, like I've posted stuff about concerning like the Balenciaga stuff, and like I've had pushback from Christians.
Wait, how? Why?
Brother, because people just don't want to see it. They don't want to believe that this stuff is going on. They're like, no, that's just it's just too bad ads. And it's like, are you like, that's like, either it's, I don't even know if you can call it willful ignorance, man.
Yeah, no, it's just denial. It's cowardice. It's the inability to face the dark reality because it's better for them to deny what's in front of them. What's that line from Spec Ops? The line, it takes a strong man to deny what's in front of him. And it's like if your world is mundane and it fits within this nice little box that you can control, then you can move through life pretty easily, but once you start if you face something like what the implications are, that is a pretty dark rabbit hole to go down, and no one wants to face that.
Yeah.
So, but
it violates the bubble. It violates the bubble of security. It does a couple things. It violates that sense of control they have over the world and how it works and reality. And it also jeopardizes or threatens their, reputation, or at least their sense of having a reputation as a sane person.
Right.
And they don't want to be a pariah. They don't want to be aligned with people who believe that crazy stuff.
Yep.
They just they want to. They're the middle grounders. They're constantly thinking, I'm being a middle ground. It's probably not true. Let's not get carried away, because they would rather spend all of their time busying themselves with the trappings of Christianity, busying themselves with the trappings of church.
The vain ideologies.
And not being the church.
Yeah. Oh.
And being the church means you have to face these things and call them out and, pray with people and minister to people. But if you can deny these things exist, then you can say, well, that's not real. That's just in the movies. That's all hype. That's psychiatric disorder, or that's, pick something. Pick an excuse. Pick a crutch.
Oh, that's good, Nick.
Speaking of movies, Gabe, you want me to tell my Son of Man story?
Son of Man.
Movie that Dad was making?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So this kind of ties into that whole Balenciaga thing in a very, very mild way. The interesting part to me that kind of makes me believe that stuff is not like that big of a deal. It's kind of like whatever. But what happened on the back end after that was pretty funny. So I want to say, Nick, it would have been in like the late 90s, like 98, when who was it, like the producer of Gandhi came to Dad and tried to get him to do the score for Son of Man.
That sounds right.
So there was I can't remember the guy's name, but someone in Hollywood discovered Dad and discovered Larry Goss and sent him a bunch of movie scripts, and one of them that looked like it was going to move forward was a movie called The Son of Man, which was supposed to have Angelica Houston, Dan DeVito, and a couple of other people in it. It was going to be about Joseph of Arimathea, and Dad was going to do the score for it. And so, like, guys came to Nashville, and I got to go with Dad. I was 15, I think, at the time, 15 or 16. And I got to go with Dad and have dinner with these guys. And, they're from New York. They're from California. They're like not any recognizable names, but they were like in the industry. They were people. And so after that, probably about 2 months later, Mom and Dad said, "Hey, Jonathan, they like you. How would you like to be an extra in the movie? And like we can all fly to the middle wherever they are going to make this movie. Probably wherever they filmed. What is it? Not Tanzania.
Tunisia.
Tunisia. Thank you. Probably Tunisia. Where they filmed
New Hope. Yeah, I knew. I was there.
Yeah, Tunisia, also known as Tatooine,
also known as Dune.
That's right. Yes, also known
Arrakis, desert planet.
Yes.
Keep going. Don't get sidetracked.
So anyways, I remember, like, I've never been a particularly bright child, but I've also not rock stupid. And I remember thinking, like, I'm a pale, pudgy, like 15-year-old white kid with glasses. How am I going to get to be an extra in a Bible movie? Like, this is a little weird. Like, it just didn't make any sense. It's like, are they going to, like, put me in a burqa? Am I going to be, like, how is this, I can't smile or talk or show my teeth because I have braces. So, and this is, like, pre-easy CGI. I don't know. It was just kind of weird, but it was really, really cool, the idea of it. So they had me go. Mom and I went to a local photographer because they wanted to get headshots. And so we go to the studio in Nashville, and it's this older, late 50s, early 60s, white haired guy, white beard, and it's just him in his studio. And he starts taking pictures of me. And Nick's battery died. Oh, well, sorry. Jeez. Just when the story gets almost good.
I'll plug it up and he can jump back in.
Yeah. So he starts taking pictures of me, and then after a while, and this is supposed to be just like headshots, like nothing, whatever, after a while, he tells me, okay, I want you to take your shirt off, and because it's a Bible movie, so like you might like be on the street corner as a beggar, so you should take your shirt off. And I remember looking at mom, and mom like being kind of weirded out about that. But you got to remember, like, this is the mid to late 90s. Like, no one knew about any of this stuff back then. You know what I mean? Like, this was not in the zeitgeist yet. So so I did. So I took my shirt off, and then he was like, okay, now I want you to start clapping and laughing like you just heard the funniest joke you've ever heard. So I did. And I did a couple more little things like that were fairly innocuous. I didn't strip down any farther than that. But after like the clapping and the taking the shirt off thing, I looked over at mom's face at one point, and she just had this like deer in headlights look. And we didn't stick around after that. So we left, and then that's the most interesting part of the story to me, because that's a very brief brush with Hollywood that I had that kind of validates all of those conspiracy theories that you hear about.
Yeah.
And I think that stuff's real. I absolutely think that stuff is real. I think the absolute worst of those people. And I defy anybody to challenge me on that. But
the evidence is definitely not in their favor.
Yeah, it's really not. Yeah, Mel Gibson was right about that stuff. Our Lord and Savior Mel Gibson. Or our Lord and Savior Braveheart. That's what it is. Yeah. That's
freedom with the American flag.
I don't know if anybody has seen any of our Ascot videos or Ascot League videos that Nick and I have made, but we're going to make some more of those. They're pretty funny. Anyways, so the interesting thing to everybody else, though, is like 6 months after that, the director is either the director or the producer died of a brain aneurysm, and then I think the executive producer died in a car crash on the way home from the funeral of the first guy. The whole project got like totally killed after that. So like, I'm not saying God will kill you if you get me to take pictures of myself without my shirt on, but I'm not saying
well, it reminds me of what my manager told me, and it's got to be as bad as it is in the music industry. I imagine it must be the same, if not twofold.
Yeah.
In film, is that he told me the music industry is owned by the devil and run by the mob.
Yeah.
Now, I think with film, because you have tied in media, television, news, I think it's a combination of the devil owns it, the mob / the government runs it.
Yeah.
So that to me, like having another person die leaving the funeral is something out of Godfather. That's like, sounds like they owed somebody some money and they're like, yeah, we're going to send a message.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's worse than, I think they're the same thing. Like literally the same thing. I think the Hollywood and the media are run by the government. Well, they're controlled by the government, they're run by Satanists. They're run by literal Satanists.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what he said, man. He said it's run by the devil. It's owned by the devil and run by the mob. So you got to have intermediaries. That's that whole thing that you sent me, like that whole thing of the Luciferian Masons being at the top of all these things. You know, because the thing is, man, you don't have to have, much like any organization, starting with the kingdom of God to any large organization on earth, you can have one person at the top and then just a couple people under them, and then a couple people under them, then a couple people under them. You know, it's like that old, they say it's a conspiracy theory, but like, is it really to think that there's 13 people that are running the world? People are like, oh, it's not 13. I'm like,
no, it probably is.
How many people do you need calling the shots? Like, when you consider, like, how many banks are there that run the world? Like, you don't have to have a whole lot of shot callers. You got to have who's running these mega corporations? Who's running the BlackRocks? Who's running Wells Fargo? Okay, well, this guy's running these two super banks. Okay, and he's hanging out with, it's all the people that we don't know their names.
Yeah, look at all of the cable channels owned by Viacom. And, all of these cable channels are all competing at the same time for your attention, for your ad dollars, but they're all owned by the same parent
competing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like all the NBA teams are competing, but they're all in the NBA.
Right. Yeah.
They're all,
That's kind of what Gary Wayne talks about whenever we have him on the Goslings. That's kind of one of his big deals. And he lays it out pretty consistently in the Genesis 6 conspiracy, that, all of these royal families, all these royal bloodlines, all of these governments, all of these people, they're all the same. They're all the same side. They're all just competing for Daddy Devil's approval.
Mm-hmm.
They're all, and in his case in particular, he talks about how they're all jockeying to be the vessel and the harbinger for the Antichrist.
Yeah.
But same system applies across the board.
Which is why in God's kingdom, see, once again, if you look at how the kingdom of Satan operates, you have to flip it. And then when you look at the kingdom of God and the church, and if you see it acting and operating like the world, that's when you have to start raising questions.
Yeah.
Because you look at his example, he came and he served. He came and lowered himself.
Right.
And he says the first shall be last and the last shall be first, right?
Yeah.
So in his kingdom, yes, be faithful. Be faithful in the small things, I'll make you rule over many. But he's like, but everybody's a servant. You talk, if anybody, the accounts that I hear of people that have been to heaven that I believe are the accounts of people they talk about. Everyone in heaven serves. The angels serve. When you meet people, like they what do you need? How can I help you?
Right.
That makes sense. Whereas, like you said, in the kingdom of darkness, Satan, Satan's kingdom, the accuser's kingdom, it's like, man, how can I climb over your bones to get to the next level? How can I
blood to navigate the desert?
Climb your carcass to get to the top. And in the Lord's kingdom, it's like, be like my son, lower yourself, and I will lift you up. Yeah,
and there are some, really, there's some really righteous reasons for that. One of them is that, let's see, which one's the best one? Well, leadership is ultimately, when you think about what it is to be a leader, when you meditate on what is leadership and you study leaders and you study good leaders, ultimately leadership is sacrifice. Ability, it's sacrifice. It's the other things too. It's setting your eyes like flint. It's having a vision. It's having the will to drive towards that vision. But you don't make that happen without sacrifice. Sacrifice is the core tenet of leadership above everything else. There's this great moment in Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield, my favorite book, my favorite novel, where all the Spartan or all the Greek hoplites are arguing over like where to build the defensive wall, and even after Leonidas 300 show up. And so, as the Greeks do, they all start squabbling amongst themselves. And Leonidas just doesn't say a word. He just strips down, and they're pulling out architectural, schematic. They're like in the dirt and giving all their reasons. And while they're all squabbling, he just takes his shirt off or his tunic. He goes over, picks up a stone, brings it over, sets it. Goes and gets another stone, picks it up, brings it over, sets it down. This very profound sort of message, and so yeah, of course, like a kingdom of heaven would be sacrificial in nature, and not just because it's cathartic. It's like the healthiest form of catharsis. It feels good to serve, but it feels good in the right reason, or for the right reasons and in the right way, because like the Satanists will convince you, the Luciferians will convince you that feeling good, do the things that feel good, But there's a healthy feel good and there's a not healthy feel good. And you have to have discernment to know which ones they are. And there's also manipulative sacrificial leadership. I've seen that. I've seen guys who, will bend over backwards for you, not because they care about you, but because you are a tool to them that they need in order to accomplish their self-seeking.
Oh, yeah.
So you really be careful with whom you choose to follow. And life is filled with people that you need to follow. That's another thing, You're going to have a boss. So, better figure out who that person is. And
well, you know what, man, and even if you don't have a boss, if you're your own boss, that comes with its own challenges.
Yeah.
There's so many biblical examples of that, but the best one is David. Like David was under Saul, who loved him and took him in as a son, then tried to murder him.
Yeah.
And then David became king and was rocking it for a while, and then dude, I mean, he fumbled the ball and he never got it back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why we follow Christ and not men, and we have to give grace because, man, let me tell you, brother, if not for the grace of God, there go we.
Yeah. How did David die? I can't remember.
Old age.
He was just old.
Yeah, he wasn't killed.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
He and Solomon died of of old age. Saul essentially was assisted suicide. And those are the three greatest kings in the golden age of the kingdom of Israel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, is Saul considered the greatest king just because he was there at the defeat?
No, David.
Okay.
And that you could make an argument for Solomon,
right?
Well, so
if you're a mate, you will.
That's true.
Yeah.
Kingdom-wise, it's David because Jesus, he's going to take David's throne, not Solomon's. But historically speaking, if you're going to look at it from secular point of view, you could make a strong argument under Solomon because they had their best years, their most prosperous years. Like if you're going to look at like what's the golden age or what's the best time in America, it's like, man, it's like post World War II to like the 80s, maybe mid 90s. Maybe just probably right before, I would say probably after World War II. So like from 1950 to when the towers fell. That's like one of the most prosperous times of America. The technological innovations, pretending to go to the moon, all that stuff,
Well, sure.
We may have, but we may have not. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about it. They lie so much. It makes you question everything.
Yeah, space is fake. Sorry, guys. I love Star Wars, but There are.
Them Van Allen belts, man. Them Van
Yep.
Allen belts.
Yeah.
And
Dude, even use the term planet Earth. That's how gone I am. That's how useless at party I am. You know. Because planet yeah. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
bro, I'm with you. I went down that rabbit hole, and I think I didn't come all the way out.
Yeah.
I got most of the way out, but I didn't get all the way out because there's just too many. There's some things that I'm like, how could we say we can't do it now when everybody has their own pocket computer with video phone? Like, look at what we're doing right now, bro. And you're going to tell me these jokers went in a tin can millions of miles?
All of the number of the beast numerology associated with the
33,300,000. Yeah, it's like
the heliocentric model is like so blatantly Luciferian in nature that I'm just like, yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm not saying I believe flat Earth, but I'm not saying I don't believe it either.
That's essentially where I'm at, bro. That's essentially where I'm at. You know, like it would be easier for me to buy all the propaganda. I mean, it's so funny because you see the memes just today I saw a meme of like, here's a picture from a security camera from the government, and here's a picture of this planet that's a zillion miles away. And like the picture of the planet's like perfectly clear, and you can see all the details in every cloud. And the thing of the CCTV is like a cell phone from 2002. You know?
Yeah, it's 5 pixels smeared with that.
Yes, and they were both taken in 2022. It would make me easier to believe half of what they propagate if they would just be honest about having Kubrick come and fake those filmings, because just from the astronauts themselves saying, well, yeah, we couldn't take pictures and stuff because of the radiation, and they're like, scrub that. Yeah. We just spent millions of dollars recording this stuff. Like, how are we going to explain it? Like, how are we going to explain now that the radiation wiped the tapes? If you idiots just told them the truth, you know, like it would just make me believe, like, okay, we had to do that we actually sent them up there, but we couldn't get photographic evidence because of the radiation. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, even with the space station right now, I'm like, there's too many things that the flat earthers, man, like they wait, have you watched that show yet, Inside Job, yet?
No, dude, I haven't had any time. I know. We'll have to you know what?
Next week.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I probably am. This will sound depressing, but it's not. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I'm probably going solo Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So it might be a perfect opportunity to sit down and watch something, because, like, I really have been thinking about, like, I could go to Georgia and see family, I could go to Florida and see family, you know, I can go to Memphis and see family, but honestly, like, I've been working my butt off the past 3 weeks, and I am so freaking tired. I just want like 2 days, so that might be the perfect way to spend.
The only episode that will get you a little emotional is the last episode, the second season. But even then, like the way that they end it totally. I want to see it because I want to do a whole review of it, especially because of the nature of what you guys talk about. 90% of the time on your channel, and me like 20% of the time that I talk about on my channel. But like realistically, what I talk about 60% of my life has to deal with. Like, bro, I'm talking, so like they have a whole episode where the flat earthers like take over like the show and like pull everybody hostage.
Awesome.
But it's so funny because they didn't use any of the good examples of things that they have to Brandon the Zealot and Luke. Oh yeah. I'm glad you all are still here with us. I was like, well, there's only 3 people watching. That might be like the 3 of our devices. So, like Nick might have just he got his phone back on and went to bed because I know he's got to get up early. But, when they point out stuff like when the guys are in the, when folks are in the International Space Station and you can see them, like you can see the clothing yanked up in the back and the way that they're positioned, it's like,
with flyers. Yeah.
Yes, it's like,
yeah,
y'all. I mean, like, it's just like, this is. Come on, we've been raised on Star Wars, y'all. We've been raised on Industrial Light and Magic. If you don't do that crap right, we're gonna. We know what's fake.
Yeah.
You have trained us, and it's funny because they're literally trying to figure out how to fool our eyes with CGI. They're trying to figure out how to lie to us.
Yeah.
And they're getting really good, but there's like, they're even with the deep fake stuff, they know there's something intrinsic. And I think this might be spiritual.
Well, it's also called the uncanny valley. There is still an uncanny valley aspect of that stuff. And there probably always will be. Because
say that again, because it dropped out.
As I said, there's, with that deep fake stuff, there's an uncanny valley aspect to things. And there probably always will be an uncanny valley aspect to things, to those deep fakes, because of the spiritual aspect of it.
Possibly. I don't know, man. Like, there's this guy, he's calls himself something Keanu, like not Keanu. And
I think I've seen.
Bro, when other people post his stuff, you will ask yourself for 5 minutes, like, was that really him? Like, you cannot tell. You can't tell. It's really hard to tell, but yeah, there's a bunch in that. I'm telling you, man, that Inside Job, this first episode of the second season, bro.
Yeah,
they go to Bohemian Grove, and not only is Alex Jones is in it, but Jesse Ventura's in it.
Awesome, good.
So I'm telling you, man, like, you just like, and like I posted the other day on Facebook, like, dude, Jesse, I don't know, like. I know, like 15, 20 years ago, people like, man, he's crazy. He looks like the most sane American.
Yeah.
Like,
he's been living in Mexico for the past like 20 years, and I don't really blame him.
He's got the money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff. Here's the thing that drives me bananas. Like, well, first of all, all this stuff, like, whenever you start mentioning any of this, you will have, after about 5 minutes, you'll have once people figure out where you land on this stuff, you'll have like 20 people come out of the woodwork and be like, oh, thank God someone else believes this.
I'm not crazy.
Right. Yeah, because it's such a verboten topic. And I'm telling you, if you want to know who controls you, just just pay attention to whom you cannot criticize or what you can't criticize. That's where the strong delusions are, in the stuff you can't talk about without being persona non grata. And I think that's like probably the biggest reason why the Goslings has been, what it is. Like, our Gary Wayne interviews are light years in numbers beyond everything else combined. So there's obviously,
people can't find his stuff, man. Like, I think with what we're seeing with Twitter, it's probably 1,000 times worse on Facebook and Google. So like, it's hard to find his stuff. Like, if you put his name in, like, if you're trying to find a specific video and you type it in, it won't come up. You have to, you got to scroll and scroll and scroll, or go through. I've gone through my history. Like, man, I just saw this video 2 weeks ago, and it's like, and I'll put it in and it won't pop up. And I'm like, you pulling up something that I watched 6 years ago, because I don't delete my history, for that reason. Like, man, there was this one thing I saw that, and he won't come up.
Yeah.
And I actually don't understand why Prophecy Watchers won't have him on.
Oh, I don't know.
Because they have Derek Gilbert on all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. And he and Derek are, they are associates. I don't know if they're necessarily friends, but they're definitely on friendly terms, and they're kind of, they overlap on the Venn diagram. And there was a healthy and mutual respect for each other when we had them both on. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they won't. But, but obviously, that's there's got to be something there that Gary talks about, or, Gary addresses that that scares off the other people or keeps him at the door. I don't really know what that is, to be honest with you, because Gary will talk about politics if you ask him, but he won't volunteer it right out of the gate.
Well, and prophecy watchers, they don't get into that. They're just about prophecy. And they're all about UFOs and the Nephilim and all these things that, like you said, the verboten topics, the things that we can't talk about in church, you know.
But that, like, people flock to that stuff. You know, we've interviewed people about other stuff, but that stuff is what everybody angles towards. You know, so like you about one of the problems with the churches, or with the church. I mean, I could probably list like 3 major blind spots in the church, but only one of them I can really talk about without getting us in trouble, and that's the fact that they won't talk about stuff like that. And there's such a hunger for it, you know? Like, people clearly are interested in this stuff. And you have like the NPCs who are like, "Oh, that's empty calorie, you know, ideology or vain ideology and empty ideology." Well, it either is, or it's like one of the most important aspects of your eschatology to understand the Bible. So
I thought it was extreme when Todd White he got on everybody. One of the things he got on everybody's radar, and I think is one of the reasons he was in the American Gospel, or maybe it was after they had him in the American Gospel. But one of the things he did that got it, you know, on all the ruffled so many feathers was he actually for a time was not allowing people membership into his congregation without having cast out a devil.
Wow.
Because he's like, the Great Commission is preach the gospel, ministry through the laying on of hands, and casting out devils. He's like, it's right there in the Bible. It's right there. And we see examples of it all through the epistles, all through the gospels. You know, so he's like, if we're going to do all this stuff, we're going to do all this stuff. So if you're not ready to be a part of this fellowship, and that you're a mature believer until you've done all those things. And I'm like, you know, that's extreme. But once again, that's one of those things. I'm like, and even then, even in saying it's extreme, like, is it extreme? Is it?
Right. Well, that's the thing. We're so homogenized, so pasteurized, you know, we're so placid that like your instinct is to be like, oh, wow, that's extreme. Why? Because someone was willing to take a risk and commit to something, you know, that's right there in the Bible. I mean, do you believe or don't you believe?
Well, I mean, I know it's hard to get people just to show up every week.
Sure.
And okay. So now you get them showing up a week, and can you get them to serve? Can you get them to serve and tithe? Can you get, you know, and like, okay, you know, but you got people that have been going to church for 20 years. Like, they don't know the Bible. They don't give. They don't serve. And I'm like, dude, I mean, might as well start calling yourself a they, them, because, you know, are you really a Christian just because you go to church 3 times a month?
Yeah, just stay home and watch football.
Yeah, and then they're, you know, upset, but like, oh, well, you know, I'm trying to get out of here because I'm trying to get to the game. Why?
Yeah, why go in the first place? Why bother?
Just go to the stinking game. Go golf. You know? I really couldn't care less about, like, that's what I mean. I love being, when the Lord says, go serve in the small local congregation, go serve in the mega church, go serve with the crazy people over here, go serve with the people over here that everybody calls the frozen chosen. But, you know, like, it was so funny. Like, I love God's people, and I see value in all of them. And I love being everywhere He sends me. I'm growing, because before I was very into my style of Christian, you know, my flavor of my walk with the Lord. And I'm like, man, if it ain't this, it ain't hopping. And I'm like, nah, man, it takes all shapes and sizes, you know, and it's different body parts.
That's right. Different.
The hand don't operate like the foot. The nose don't do the same thing as the back, you know, as the hamstring, you know. The back holds up the structure, you know.
What was that? I don't think I can find it in time, but there's a speech that I think Gabriel gives at the benediction ceremony in Empyrean Falling, where
he's going to quote from his book, y'all. I love it.
I am marketing.
That's right. Support my man. Put the link in the comments there, Jonathan.
Yeah. find this first. I probably won't be able to find it, but it doesn't really matter. So there's a line where Gabriel is talking to at the Benedict, talking to his seraphim, and he basically says, we as the archangels are your heart, and you as our angels, as our choirs, are our hands. And the hands cannot function without the heart, but the heart is useless without the hand. It has no purpose.
That's right.
And it's true. So there are many different parts. See, there you go, people. No one will buy it.
No, don't say that, because I'm going to be buying it. What is the website for your books, by the way?
I don't have an Amazon page. I got a Facebook page too.
Put it in the comments.
Imperium available on Amazon. There you go. The Goslings started out really as a promotional tool for Nick and I's books, for Nick's Travelers League series, which is like middle grade fiction. I call it Harry Potter meets the Boy Scouts with a little bit of Narnia thrown in.
Nice.
It's great stuff, and it's very popular and very successful. And then and it's homeschool, it's Christian homeschool friendly, so everybody will dig it. Totally safe. And then mine was just my Heavenly Rome series, and that's how the Goslings got started. Was we were just talking about updates, what we had coming up. I don't know who we were talking to, nobody,
Brother, you never know. And the funny thing is, as your channel grows, and this is I'm gonna leave us here because it's gonna be a good way to as my pastor says, park the bus.
Yeah,
I love that. I've picked up a ton of expressions from him. I love him, man. He's
that's a good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. In this time and space, ministering through the internet, it's one of the first times that ministers, that the people of God have to now think with God's mentality, because we can minister to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Something that a podcast or video that you put on YouTube 5 years ago, somebody could watch it 5 years from now in Tanzania, in South Korea, in New Zealand, in Africa, with subtitles translating it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's not bound by oh man, there was only 9 people at any given time on tonight. But dude, who knows who's going to see this in 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, and that's one thing I tell Nick and I tell myself in regards to our Stephen Pressfield interviews. Because dude, we're friends with Stephen Pressfield, the author of The Legend of Bagger Vance, the author of The War of Art. He's been on Joe Rogan twice. He was on Joe Rogan last month.
Mm-hmm.
He's been on Oprah. He's Gary Wayne gets us amazing numbers, and Gary Wayne is super cool and very fascinating, and he's huge for our channel, and he's he is the Leviathan. He would hate this comparison, but he's
he really would.
Yeah, but he's the Leviathan in. He's like Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah,
massive, but the pond is small. And then we have somebody like Stephen Pressfield, who is a legit
super celebrity.
Yes, celebrity. He's a legit dude, and great. Of course, I'm trying to post Nick's books here. Let's see. That's an awful link. That's not working. Great. But Stephen Pressfield is huge. He's a legit big deal, and his cumulative views are maybe 1,000 across 4 or 5 interviews, and I'm but you just what you're talking about, you tell yourself this is an investment. As long as YouTube doesn't go down, as long as our channel doesn't get taken down, as long as we decide not to take it down, it's there in perpetuity. It's there forever.
And the thing is, when he passes, as we all will someday, unless the Lord returns and the creek don't rise.
Yep.
you don't know what that's going to do after, the day he dies. People going to be like, oh my gosh, he did all these cool interviews and, I mean, you just, and even then, man, it's like, so if the video, if it never, and I don't believe like we were talking privately about, the audiences of like what Crowder's been able to do with, over 300,000 people supporting his thing. Yeah. I believe the audience is there, but even if it doesn't ever get to this mega corporation Daily Wire level of thing, it's like, dude, you never know. You could inspire the next John the Baptist, the next Stephen the Martyr. The next Daniel, the next Joseph.
Yeah, that was always my thing with the Heavenly Realms series, because I always knew, like, barring a miracle, they're not going to make a lot of money. They're super niche, like they're written for fighting age males, and they're about a bunch of angels going to war against each other. It's like Rome Total War meets Lord of the Rings meets Paradise Lost.
Yeah,
it's like no one.
But that's where you're selling yourself short, man. Like think of it. Think of that book, that concept that goes with a 16-year-old that's going to John MacArthur's church, to a 16-year-old that's going to Rod Parsley's church, to a 16-year-old that's attending Joel Osteen's church, to the 16-year-old that's at the Presbyterian church down the street. Yeah. I mean, you got to think about that. Fighting age, young Christian male. That's a lot of people, bro. I think of John, I think of Frank Peretti's books.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of people don't know about Frank Peretti, but a lot of people do know about Frank Peretti.
And when I was writing these in the, late 90s to late 2000s, those were pretty much the only novels about the subject matter. There was one other book, a secular metaphysical science fiction book called To Reign in Hell. And that was it. That was like the whole genre of angelic warfare fiction.
Yep. And to me, honestly, so you have that, you have Frank Peretti, and you have the Chronicle of Brothers, and we have your, the Heavenly Realms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the Lord inspires you to do more with it,
yeah.
I think, niche is where it's at these days, man, because
probably,
I mean, think about it, dude, like everything, that's what's killing the mega corporations. And I was actually listening to Tim Pool. They actually made a really good point. Back in the day, it was about getting your information from that person that you knew and trusted before the newspapers became a thing. And then before the radio became a thing, and then before television became a thing, and then it was centralized. Now, you, me, Nick, all these people, we can get on our phones and disseminate information to each other, and it has completely taken the power out of these people's hands.
Yeah,
we we really don't fathom the authority and the opportunity that we have, and I think God is just trying to he's like, please, I'm giving you, this is like the time to strike is like, you can literally go anywhere and strike gold. And like we were talking, how many people are you following on YouTube that in the last 5 years went from zero to superhero? Forget hero, man. These people went from Captain America to stinking Galactus. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking in nerd language for y'all, so hopefully all the nerds are still, Mm-hmm. But I mean, literally, I've watched people go from like 3,000 subscribers, right in the neighborhood where I'm at, to now over 500,000.
Yeah,
talking about nonsense. Most of them. Most of it's just it's just nonsense, just noise. And some of it's fun, some of it's but it's not like L.A. Marzulli. He hasn't even broken 200 subscribers. Now, granted, he's throttled a lot because he's pushing against, same thing. And honestly, that's part of it. But like what I've been showing you guys, he doesn't have anybody helping him that really knows how to use the platform. Same thing with Prophecy Watchers. Perry Stone too. They have like all their comments shut off. They have all the things that would help them with the algorithm to promote the message that they're there to propagate, which is the kingdom, the gospel. They're like, we don't want the pushback. We don't want this stuff. It's like, dude, let people, It's like going out there. I only want to preach, and I don't want anybody to say anything bad about me. I'm like, dude, that is against the last beatitude. Let people hate you. Let them call you names. Number one, the Bible says that's a reward. It says you're blessed when you reach that level. Number two, Facebook's going to show it to more people. So it's a stinking double win.
Yeah, there's really no such thing as bad press in a lot of ways. You know,
and 100%. No, 100% there is no such thing. And as long as we're staying true to what that Bible says, bro, let the arrows fly, let them throw the mud, let them throw the rotten eggs, let them throw the poop, let them drag our names through the mud. You know, man, you want to say I'm crazy? You know what? Say I'm crazy, but you know, I'm not we're not conspiracy theorists. We're theorists. We're conspiracy realists.
Conspiracy real.
We're really batting. We're batting like in the 800s. We're better than the major leaguers right now, y'all.
You might want to like write a proposal to L.A. Marzulli's camp and see if back of
brother. This is why I want us to build something, because I have the knowledge and I have the experience. I don't have the resume yet. When I've built my channel up to 100 some odd thousand, and I mean, who knows what God's going to do next year? Like, I'm going. This is why I'm here right now. I don't feel well. You know, I was really actually hoping Nick would be like, not even text me. I'd be like, I'm just going to take the night off, man. I don't feel well. I really don't physically. You know, like, I have been going nonstop since October. Nonstop. I have had like maybe 1 or 2 days off. You know, even when we went to Florida. I went to Florida for my daughter's birthday in November for 3 or 4 days. I took my saxophone so I could practice. Ended up playing saxophone for a movie. So, like, I'm there spending time with my family, and then my girls go to bed, and I go lock myself in a bedroom and get on with a producer from Nashville, and I'm on a FaceTime call for 3 hours playing saxophone, doing a session for, you know. So it's like, even when I'm on vacation, I'm working. So I really didn't feel it, but I'm like, dude, I'm committed to this because, as you said, I mean, I've had 300% growth on my channel this year.
Wow.
And I want to help other believers.
Yeah.
You know, because, I mean, dude, like, I almost landed a celebrity account. I had a friend of mine. I showed him what I was doing with my channel, and he saw the growth. He connected me with a dude that's connected to a well-known celebrity. Like, if I told you who this person was, you'd be like, and I almost, and it still might happen. They still might let me, like, work on this person's account, because I told them, and I did a full breakdown. I was like, dude, because I have all the stuff, like I showed Nick, like all the stuff that I can see, all the backdoor stuff, like this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, right? Mm-hmm. You know, because they're putting out content, and this person's a celebrity, dude, and like, you're getting more views than this person, and this person's been on television and movies.
They're doing a lot.
Yeah. So, but once again, that just tells you the power of this internet thing.
Yeah.
Don't matter if you're a celebrity. Don't matter what, you know, it's like, what are people looking for? What answers?
Yeah.
What does the world need? What questions is the world asking? And brother, they're looking for hope. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for salvation. They want to know, what are these things why am I having this night paralysis? Why am I seeing things in my bedroom at night? Why am I seeing these things in the sky? You know, why am I always sick? Why am I having to deal with all these things, dude? That's what and they know. Every human being knows. The Bible says it. We know there's a God. We know there's a coming judgment.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, nobody gets stupid drunk for fun. Nobody drugs themselves out of their mind for fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's trying to run away from that thing that we know is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, we have the answers because we have the book.
Yeah. Yes. It's all right there.
100%. This all makes sense.
I was going to read you something from, because I know you and I have discussed this before. It's in the author's note for book 5, Wayfarers. So this book was like a decade in the making, but I think it's kind of speaks to your point. This is towards the end of the
Drop it like it's hot. Oh, wait, that was the wrong one. Hold up. That was the wrong one. That was the one we were looking for.
Which one?
The hold up. The air horn. The DJ air horn.
Yeah, we finally got our stream loaded. It's awesome. Okay, so in the author's note for Wayfarers, it says, it has always been my hope that if even one of my books leads you to pick up a Bible and start reading the Word of God, then I have done my job as a Christian. Your relationship with Jesus Christ is more important to me than sales, affirmations, celebrity, or success. That, to me, is success. I hope this book and all the Heavenly Realms novels blesses you on that journey. Life is a war. Win as many battles as you can, and know that ultimate victory is ours through the blood of Jesus Christ. The thing is, the part about success, you know, that is really the thing that you can like take comfort in and rest in, is that like, okay, if I could just like have this one little victory, then it's worth all this other stuff. You know, like I had one person tell me like the books got her into reading again after like 20 years of never reading anything, you know? So like those little things are like the success that makes you happy and then, you know, and like fills your cup. And then the other stuff is like, man, if that other stuff happens, awesome. If it doesn't, I'll be okay, you know? So
it's to reach the one, man. To reach the one. And
right.
And even from the standpoint of our faith, I mean, Paul said, man, just to endure and run the race with perseverance, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love about that first Rocky movie. He's like, man, I just want to, what is the name of the song? It's the name of the song it's the terminology. It's like basically making it through the entire fight. What is that? I'm
trying to remember. I don't know. It's been like,
it's right there on the tip of my tongue. It's, hold up. Rocky 1 soundtrack listing. He wants to go the distance. Going the distance. He wants to go the distance, and that's all 15 rounds, you know. That's because that's the thing, man. Like the further I go, I understand the sorrow in the morning of losing someone in the faith at any given time before you think, you know, like, oh man, they weren't 75 and, you know, 75 to 100, right? But I'm like, in some ways it's a blessing to die young in the faith, because it's like, man, some people can't make it. Like you see people in their 40s, 50s, 60s walk away. And I'm like, it blows my mind. It blows my mind to see a marriage of 25, 30 years just, you know, it's like, and people do it every day. They're like, I'm done. I'm like, are you crazy? You've gone this long and you're going to quit now?
Right. And what's going to be waiting for you on the other end? Like, you're 50 years old and you're divorced. Who's like, how are you going to do any better? Like, you know,
they do it every day, man. They do it every day. But now consider that with your with the faith, not your faith, the faith. Yeah. People just like, I just don't believe it anymore. I just don't, you know, I know there's a God and, you know, I know there's this and that, but I'm like, oh my gosh, man.
Well, that's what happened to me at Grace Point, because going to, in a way, coordination class was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me, because it made me, it was so intellectual in its progressive nature, because it was very progressive, and but it was very intellectual, and those two go hand in hand. And because of that, you can intellectualize your way right out of the faith very easily.
Yep.
You know, and I did. And I was an atheist for 5 years, from like 2010, maybe 2009 to probably 2015, you know. So 5 or 6 years. And because I just became disillusioned. I couldn't make sense of it anymore. It didn't make sense to me. And if it doesn't make sense, it can't be right. And then, you know, you kind of circle back to it and you're like, oh yeah, it doesn't have to make sense. Like, that's part of what faith is. Like, that's why they call it faith, you know. Like, I was kind of an,
we're gonna have faith in something, man. You can't tell me that evolution makes sense. You can't tell me that space travel makes sense. You can't tell me that anything that anybody believes You know.
Well, even what does that nihilism get you? You know, I mean, not to argue Pascal's wager, but in a way, even if this life is the only life you get and there's nothing beyond, even if that nihilism is true, then you would probably like it's pretty universal. The studies are pretty consistent about like having some sort of belief structure and faith in the supernatural and God makes for a higher quality of living.
Yep.
So there's really no way to answer it, you know, in a responsible way with I choose not to believe. If you choose to believe, like, and it is a choice and you make that choice every day, you know, and you're a man who has had a miraculous healing. You know, I have seen my fair share of probably supernatural or miraculous mercies, you know, and 1,000 mundane ones along the way, you know, and some pretty bad stuff too, you know. But you have to, like, if you just do a risk analysis on it, and it's like, you know what, my quality of life, for just purely pragmatic reasons, my quality of life is probably going to be better if I believe, but also like you have to choose to believe because it makes sense, and it has to make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. I believe, O Lord, help thou my unbelief.
Yeah,
there's in the Bible.
We lose nothing, we gain everything.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you know, and you can still do that and be honest with yourself, you know, and you should be honest with yourself. So, you know,
that's actually one of the I can't remember. It's in Angels and Demons. I just rewatched it a couple weeks ago, and it's something Tom Hanks said. Like he's like, because they're asking him, you know, like, well, you know, he's not even a believer, and he's like, he wants to have faith. It's kind of like what Tom Hanks's character says. You know, he's like, I want to have faith. Like I don't believe, but I want to believe. You know, and yeah, it's a very interesting thought.
And it's like, and the answer to that is sure, we all do. Just choose to believe. That's why it's called faith. Like, if sense, you wouldn't need faith.
It's the thief on the cross, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Son of David, have mercy on me. Today you'll be with me in my Father's kingdom. Shoo!
Yeah.
Nothing else required, brother. He believed. No baptism. No, you know, I'm not saying you don't need baptism. Baptism a good thing. Baptism of the Holy Ghost, good thing. You know, theology, good thing. Doctrine, good thing. All these things are good things. Are they absolutely necessary? The thief on the cross example would be the exemption to the rule, and they would say, no, not necessary. Believe on him, and thou shalt be saved.
That's all it takes.
It's beautiful. Well, we're going to leave everybody there. We're down to just a couple folks. I don't know if anybody's still there, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'm going to take some more medicine and go to bed, and hopefully get on here tomorrow to release this single, and I'll talk about that tomorrow. This song I'm going to release. It's a very different kind of winter holiday Christmas song. It's not even really a Christmas song. It's called Winter Tears, but I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, it's very, very different, man. It's something it's a song the Lord gave me that I'm like, but I'm not going to talk about that now because we've already been going for like a couple hours. So big love to Nick and Jonathan from the Goslings. Y'all make sure you subscribe to them, follow them on YouTube, and we'll be doing more stuff together. God bless each and every one of you. Happy Hanukkah. Tonight is Chag Sameach is the fourth night of Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We don't do Kwanzaa because it's not a real thing. So, yeah, don't go anywhere, Jonathan. I'm gonna hang them up, and then we're gonna call this a night. So y'all be blessed. Here we go.
Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas.